We all love that feeling, right? Tearing open the box on a brand new phone, a lightning-fast laptop, whatever the latest gadget is. But have you ever really stopped to think about what happens to the old one? The one you just toss in a drawer, or even worse, just throw out? Well, that's where our story really begins.
Just look at this number. 41.8 million tons. This comes from a United Nations study, and that's how much electronic waste the world chucked out in a single year. And that was back in 2014. And let's be real, with how much we all love new gadgets, that number has just shot through the roof since then. It's a weight that's almost impossible to even wrap your head around.
So you gotta ask, right? Where does all of it actually go? When we get rid of these devices, they don't just poof into thin air. They start a journey that has these huge and often totally hidden consequences for our planet and for us. All right, so that leads us right into the first part of our explainer, the e-waste explosion. We really have to grasp the sheer scale of this problem before we can even begin to think about how to fix it. So what are we even talking about when we say e-waste? Well, the definition's pretty simple. It's just any electronic or electrical gadget that's unwanted, broken, or thrown away. You might hear people call it techno-trash, and honestly, it's the fastest growing pile of garbage on the planet, period.
And yeah, a huge part of why this is exploding, well, it's us. Think about it. The pace of tech is just insane, which means we're all upgrading our stuff way faster than we ever have before. And that constant cycle of new, better, faster just creates this relentless mountain of the old and outdated.
Okay, let's dig a little deeper, because this isn't just about a giant pile of junk. This is about tech's toxic secret. See, there's something genuinely dangerous hiding inside the very devices we use every single day.
And this is what's wild. Just look at how short the lifespan of our technology has become. Your average cell phone, you're probably upgrading it in less than 2 years. A desktop computer, a measly 2 years. This crazy turnover is the engine that's just pushing that mountain of e-waste higher and higher.
So what is it that makes this techno-trash so toxic? Well, inside all our electronics, there's some pretty nasty stuff. We are talking about heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium. These aren't just harmless bits of plastic and metal. They are truly hazardous materials.
And here's where it gets really bad. See, when these things get dumped in a landfill, they don't just sit there quietly. Over time, as they start to break down, all those toxic chemicals can leak out into the ground. And from there, they can get into the soil, into our groundwater, and eventually into the very food chain we depend on. And this is where it gets personal, and frankly, pretty scary. Because that contamination comes right back to us, with some really serious health hazards. Exposure to these toxins is linked to everything from nausea to, in the long run, even cancer. And the scariest part? A lot of these heavy metals can actually build up in your body over years, with effects you might not see for a long, long time.
It all sounds incredibly bleak, I know, but, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. This quote from Malcolm Johnson just nails the paradox we're in. Our tech, our ICTs, they're a growing part of the problem, but they also hold the key to the solution.
And that brings us to, well, a pretty surprising solution. It turns out the very same industry that kind of created this mess is also the one developing one of the most powerful tools we have to fight back.
And that tool? It's cloud computing. Now, I know we all kind of use the cloud, but what is it really? Well, basically, it just means instead of everyone relying on their own individual servers, we all tap into this huge shared pool of computing power that's run out of these hyper-efficient data centers. And the impact is just, wow. Take a look at this. There was this one study that found a small business could slash its energy use and its carbon emissions by up to 90% just by switching from their own servers to the cloud. 90%. That is an absolutely massive difference.
Okay, so how does it work? Well, think of it like this. Instead of every single business owning its own car that it only drives for like an hour a day, the cloud is more like a super efficient city bus system. It gives you computing power only when you need it. It serves tons of different users on the exact same shared hardware, kind of like passengers on a bus. Its servers are almost always running at full capacity instead of just sitting there idle. And the data centers themselves are engineered to be as energy efficient as possible. It's just a way, way smarter way to compute.
But hold on. The solution isn't just about being more efficient. It's also about completely rethinking what we throw away. And that gets us to our final section, turning all that trash into treasure.
All right, let's go back to that old phone you've got stashed in a drawer somewhere.
We talked about the toxic stuff inside, sure, but what else is in there? What if I told you it's literally a tiny treasure chest?
Yeah, you heard me right. Our gadgets are packed with super valuable materials. We're talking copper, silver, aluminum, titanium, and get this, actual gold. There are significant amounts of precious metals in the devices we use every single day. You think I'm kidding? Check this out. Back in 2015, Apple announced it recovered $40 million worth of gold from the iPhones, Macs, and iPads it recycled. That's $40 million in a single year from stuff people were just going to throw out.
There's actually a cool name for this whole idea. It's called urban mining. Basically, instead of digging holes in the earth for these resources, we can pull them right out of the products we've already made. The new mines are our cities, our homes, even that junk drawer in your kitchen. It's a total shift in how we think about resources.
So here's what I want to leave you with. What if we stop looking at our old gadgets as techno-trash that's destined for a landfill? What if instead we saw every single one of them not as waste, but as a treasure chest, just packed with valuable resources waiting to be unlocked? That one simple change in perspective, well, it could change absolutely everything.